Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You're welcome to our Qira'ah class. So Al-Qira'atu, which is Quran recitation skills, that's the tajweed. How do we recite the Quran perfectly? So Alhamdulillah, so far we've been going through Surah Al-Baqarah, and we are still going to continue our Surah Al-Baqarah. And as we do that, we will be branching to various rules of Quran recitation. And today we have a very interesting topic, and that is As-sifru. Can you say that again? As-sifru. Yes, As-sifru. So the As-sifru, the function of the As-sifru in recitation is written under it. That is the elongation preventer. The elongation preventer. What is elongation in English language? For you to draw something. So when I say and I want to elongate so becomes if I say O and I want to elongate O, so O becomes O. That means the number of times we count, the numbers of seconds we count for O is different from O. So I have elongated it, I made it long. So in Quran recitation, as you know, we have letters of elongation. We know that already. Alif Madi, Waw Madi, and Ya Madi. So we now have this particular thing called As-sifru that prevents elongation. What does it mean when you prevent something? It means you don't make that into happen anymore. So there is one particular thing that doesn't make Alif, Waw, and Ya Madi to happen anymore, to perform their function, and that is As-sifru. So let's go. So what is As-sifru? As-sifru is a zero-like sign. In the Quran, it is a zero-like sign. When you say zero-like, that means it looks like zero. That's a compound word. It is a zero-like sign. It looks like zero. That prevents letters of Maddi from performing their normal function. So the function, what Sifru has come to do in the Quran is that it came to prevent Alif Madi from performing its function, which is elongation. It came to prevent Waw Madi from performing its function, which is elongation, and also the same as Ya Madi. So when you see Sifru on those three letters, so those three letters, they don't perform their normal function, which is elongation. So, and I want you to recall, you can remember the relationship between these letters and the harakat. We know Fatha already. The first one is Fatha, and we use Alif Madi to elongate Fatha. Just like Ba Fatha Ba, with Alif Madi becomes what? Ba. Then the second one we have Kasra. Always we use Ya Madi to elongate Kasra. When you have Ba Kasra B, you have with Ya Madi it becomes B. And lastly, Dhamma goes with Waw Madi. You can see they are even written like the same way. Waw, Dhamma looks like a small Waw. So Waw Madi and Dhamma goes together. When you have Ba Dhamma Bu, and you have with Waw Madi, it becomes what? Bu. So we know that already. We just want you to recall. So now this is Sufru. How do you identify Sufru in the Quran? This is elongation letters with a Sufru. We have Alif Madi, Waw Madi, and Ya Madi, and on each of those letters we have a Sufru. So that Sufru, we are still going to make reference to the Quran, and you go to the Quran to make research after the whole explanation. So always you see Alif Madi, Waw Madi, and Ya Madi in the Quran meant for elongation. So now, but when you see this 0, 0, 0 on it, so I would like you to note something, that Sukun in the Quran is not written like 0, like this. Sukun in the Quran is not written like 0, but in other books, maybe books of Tawheed, books of Fiqh, you can see Sukun written like this. But in the Quran, Sukun is always written like a greater than sign. You know, when you do your right hand like this, like a greater than. When you say 3 greater than 1. So like a greater than sign. That is how Sukun is written in the Quran. So which means when you see something like 0, you know it is not sukun. Rather, it is what? As-sifru. It is what? Can you say it? As-sifru. Very good. So when sifru is on alif madi, waw madi, and ya madi, what is it doing there? So these are examples. We said that sifru is an elongation preventer. That means initially when you have alif madi, you want to elongate a letter that is having fatha with alif madi. You want to elongate a letter that is having dhamma with waw madi, and you want to elongate a letter having kasra with ya madi. But immediately we have sifru on each of those letters of elongation. Those letters will not be elongated anymore. Look at the first example. We have alif, hamza, fatha, a, nun, fatha, na. With alif madi becomes ana. That is the normal way. That is the normal way. Ana. But immediately you see sifru, a sifru on that alif madi, then that alif madi loses its function. It will not function as elongation anymore. It will just seems to be the alif madi is not there. So ana becomes what? Can you say it? It becomes good. It becomes ana. From ana, because of sifru, it becomes ana. Instead of ana elongated, it becomes just ana. Just like as if you wrote alif hamza fatiha with nun fatiha alone without alif madi. Why? Because on the letter of elongation you have as-sifru. The second example, very common in the Holy Quran, we have alif hamza dhamma u. What do we use in elongating u? It is waw. Fine. Waw is in front of that alif hamza dhamma u. Then we have the rest of the letters. Lam fatha la with long elongation. La hamza kasra e. Ka fatha ka. La ika. But our emphasis is on that alif hamza dhamma u with waw madi u. So normally it should be u, but immediately we see sifru on that waw madi. What happens to the waw madi? It loses its function. And what is its function? The function is elongation. So when you see sifru on the waw madi, it means no more elongation. So instead of this, listen, instead of ulaika, it becomes what? It will seems to be the waw is not present. It will seems to be we have just alif hamza dhamma u, then with the rest of the letters without waw. So it becomes what? Ulaika. So have you ever listened to any reciter saying Ulaika ashabul maymana, or Ulaika hum sharrul bariyya? No, what you hear is Ulaika ashabul maymana, Ulaika hum khayrul bariyya, Ulaika hum sharrul bariyya. So it is written like this, but it is recited in another way. Why? Because we have waw madi there, but the waw madi loses its function because of sifru on it. And the last example, we have nun fatha na with shadda, fine. But when you are beginning a recitation with shadda, the shadda will not function. We know that. So nun fatha na with ba fatha ba with alif hamzat kasra e, that is naba'i. What do we use in elongating kasra? The alif hamza kasra e. What do we use in elongating it? Definitely ya. So alif hamza kasra e with ya madi should be e. So in this word we should have the recitation of naba'i. Can you say that? Naba'i. Good. But if you look at the ya madi after the alif hamzat kasra e, the ya madi is carrying sifru again. Oh, what does that mean? It means it is as if the ya madi is not present. Why? Because we have as-sifru on it. So instead of naba'i elongated twice, it will be naba'i. Can you say that? Naba'i. Naba'i. So instead of naba'i, it becomes naba'i. Why? Because we have sifru present. So the work of sifru is that it prevents the work of elongation. Very simple. What is the work of sifru? On alif madi, on waw madi, and on ya madi, it comes to prevent their own normal function. And what is their normal function? Elongation. So which means when you see it on alif madi, waw madi, and ya madi, it means it seems to be they are not present. It seems to be the alif, waw, and ya madi are not present. Now we are going to the Quran, and let me say you are going to the Quran. Open to these verses and read from the beginning of each of those verses. Read down. Anywhere you see alif madi with sifru, make sure you don't elongate. Anywhere you see waw madi with sifru, make sure you don't elongate. Anywhere you see ya madi with sifru, make sure you don't elongate such kasra. And in class, I want to see the best reciter. I want to see the best student who is going to emphasize on this particular topic, as-sifru, the elongation preventer. So go to the Quran, go to the index of the Quran, and open to these verses. Or before that, yes, you go to these verses, and this is where we are taking the reading from. So we have Quran 2, verse 14. Quran 20 rather, verse 14. That is Surah Taha. Can you say that? Surah Taha. That is Quran 20. Open to verse 14 and read. You will surely find sifru on alif, which means we are not elongating the alif. Read from the beginning to the end of that verse. The second one, Suratul An'am. Suratul An'am. That is Surah number 6, verse 34. Read verse 34 from the beginning to the end. You will surely see ya madi carrying sifru. What does that mean? It means no elongation. Also, Quran 98. Quran 98. That is Suratul Bayyinah. Suratul Bayyinah. You will surely see waw madi carrying sifru. How do you read that? Let's know. So Suratul Bayyinah, verses 6 and 7. And lastly, Suratul Kahfi. Suratul Kahfi, the Friday surah. The surah we read every Friday. Suratul Kahfi. Although we read it some other days, but very special on Friday. So Suratul Kahf, verse 38. You will surely see sifru on alif madi. What does that mean? Let us know. So that is all about sifru. But before we end our class, before we round off our class, I want you to look at these two words very well. Just take a look at it for 5 seconds and see what do you notice. I guess you're saying something to your mind. Okay, let me say what's on my own mind. Okay, look at this word very well and tell me on what letter do you find sifru? Definitely the last letter, which is alif madi, which is alif, which is what? Alif. Good. So let's spell the first word from the beginning. Amzat fatha. Follow me. Fatha what? Ah, good. With alif madi, good. We use alif madi to always elongate fatha. Then we continue mim fatha ma, that is am. Nun dhamma nu, amanu. With waw madi nu, amanu. We now have one alif having 0 like sign, which is sifru. Now tell me this word, are we going to elongate the nu or we just say amanu? Yes, that is the question. Are we to say amanu or we say amanu? Why? Because we are seeing sifru in front. That is why I ask you to look at the letters, to look at the word for 5 seconds. Definitely we are not going, we are going to elongate the nu. Who can tell me the reason? I guess you know the reason already. The reason is that we use waw madi to elongate dhamma, but on the waw madi, no sifru. On the waw madi, no sifru. So, which means the last alif is irrelevant. Why? Because what is before it is not having fatha. And it means what is before it is having fatha, then we know that, oh, we are not elongating maybe waw or something. But we have nun dhamma, nu, with waw madi, nu, without any sifru present on the waw. So we don't have any business with sifru here. So it is amanu. So inna alladhina amanu. It should be amanu. But if sifru had been present on waw, then it should be amanu. So watch out for this. Make sure when you look at the letter, look at the haraka it is carrying before you check the sifru. Here we have nun dhamma, but the waw is not having any sifru. So we should elongate normally. Also the second letter, the second word, waw fatiha wa, ain fatiha, mim kasra mi, wa ami, lam dhamma lu, wa amilu. With waw madi, lu, wa amilu. Is there any sifru on the waw? No. So that is not stopping us from doing our normal elongation. So look at the words very well and digest them. Practice on your own. Apart from the verses provided, make research on verses where you can find this zero-like sign. So inshallah, we'll meet in the class. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.